Welcome to the Desert Sanctuary with Carl and Laura Forehand.
Often when we have doubts about religion or simply want to ask questions, it can feel like we are wandering out into the desert.
We would like to invite you to join our sanctuary, the Desert Sanctuary.
We've tried to pick guests that would resonate with and challenge us and our fellow seekers here in the desert.
We believe that a key to the journey is to keep asking good questions, and we believe that all stories are sacred.
Our hope is that you will find life and healing for your body and mind, and that you will be able to be where you are and be who you are.
And now, here is our show. Hi, welcome to the Desert Sanctuary podcast. I'm Laura Forehand. I am here with Carl Forehand. As always, we're kind of a team like that. And we are continuing our discussion on Carl's latest book that has come out, Campfires in the Desert, a deconstruction travel guide. And so we're going to jump into the chapter called
Diving
Jumping in, saying that for two people that have done pretty much nothing all day. Well, we've read and you've worked on your puzzle. So
Yeah, we went to the No Kings rally yesterday. So
that is true.
we're tired.
Yeah, a little bit tired. It was hot, but I'm really glad that we went.
Yeah,
It was a
sure.
great experience. So anyway, we're gonna jump in to the chapter called Learn to Be Where You Are, or Presence. And so I wanted to start with a question for you. It's kind of a broad general question, but what is meant by being present or presence? What do you mean when you say that?
So the example I think I use in there is when my teacher and the AI got this wrong. Not much, it does it pretty well, but got this wrong. It's not Mrs. Beatty, it's Mrs. Beatty.
Oh, well,
And
yeah, those vowel teams, because the English language is bizarre. And so those vowel teams will get you every time.
yeah,
AI.
but I remember Mrs. Beatty, and I usually remember which grade it was wrong. So when I look back at my little school book,
Mm-hmm.
but she was, those teachers would take roll, and when you came to class, they would say, sometimes they go like Mr. Forehand, or they'd say
Right.
Joey, which the name I went by, or whatever.
Uh,
And you could say here or present.
mm-hmm.
You couldn't say yep or anything like that, or you're getting quite a bit of trouble. But
Can I stop you there?
yeah,
Because I just want to ask you, like, did you have a big class? Because you grew up in very small
no,
towns. So it's
it was,
funny to me that they had to take attendance, because I can take attendance in my classroom without calling a single name.
yeah. No, they weren't that big
Okay.
classes, less than 20, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was just a thing they did.
Yeah.
So you could say here or present.
Mm-hmm.
And so back then, here and present meant the same thing,
Uh-huh.
right?
Right.
But when Mrs. Beatty said, "Are you present?" she meant, "Are you here?"
Right.
But when you say, Laura, when you say to me, "Are you here?"
Mm-hmm.
you mean, "Are you present?"
Yeah. Sometimes I don't really say, "Are you here?" More, I don't say anymore. I say, "Are you listening?"
Listening?
Which is kind of the same
Put
thing.
your phone down.
Yeah. Are you present?
So, are you present? I
Mm-hmm.
think it's one of the challenges with phones and so on.
Yeah,
Now I
for
have a
sure.
phone, and I love all the things that it can do. But it's, are you present? Are you
Mm-hmm.
be where you are? And I
Mm-hmm.
think I learned that lesson quite a while ago. When people kind of taught me, well, when you're at work, be at work.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be worrying about what's at home. You can't do much about it right now.
Right.
But when you're at home,
Mm-hmm.
you should be at home. You
Mm-hmm.
should be 100% there. And so that's kind of the gist of what presence is. We we say at the end of each episode, be where you are and be
Mm-hmm.
who you are. So
Mm-hmm.
who you are, we talked about last week with
Authenticity.
authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
and being where you are is presence.
Right. So, do you feel like you did a good job of being present at home when you were in ministry? Like, I feel like when you worked your bivocational job, you did a good job of leaving work at work. Way better than I do. I don't always leave my work at work. Sometimes I bring that home. But how would you, how do you feel
Well, I
about
don't
like
think that's
church?
bad. I don't think that's bad. So, that you have stress and you're dysregulated and you come home with all that. I don't think it's wrong to talk about it.
Right. No, I
But
wasn't saying anything negative, but I guess I'm just curious, like, and you would do that same thing when you worked, at the nuclear plant or
I think
at
the
the
question, yeah,
manufacturing plant, but
I'm, I think the question with, sorry for interrupting you, that I think the question for that is not should you talk about what happened at work, but it's am I present when you're telling me about
mm-hmm.
it? You
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
that's because I'm off somewhere else, right? And thinking about what I'm writing or
Mm.
something, or thinking about the TV show or the book I'm reading or whatever. It's can you be present? And I don't know if in that way being present for each other is something we can do 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard work to.
Well, it's intentional work,
Mhm.
right? You
Yeah.
have to be intentional about it. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. So
I interrupted you.
your first little sub chapter in this particular chapter is being aware of our senses. So it's funny that you mentioned that because I'm reading Dr. Lori Desautel's book, Body and Brain Brilliance, and it talks a lot about sensations.
Mhm.
So, what did you mean by being aware of our senses
Yes.
in this particular book?
So I think I might have used the example of having four brothers, and because I had four brothers, you had to eat faster. You couldn't. Um, you didn't get
Get the food.
enough to eat,
Hmm.
and we had small portions the first time around, and then whoever ate fastest got the seconds. In high school,
Hmm.
I would go to Votech, and we just barely get home in time to wolf something down
Hmm.
back to school. Go to wolf something down before we went to English class. So I just learned to eat fast, and
Hmm.
I did that for a long time. But the question is, do you even taste that? Do
Yeah.
you enjoy it? Is
Hmm.
it nourishing your body, or is it just like thrown down as fast as you can, and you never really taste? So we have taste, then we have, are you hearing things?
Hmm.
Um, in the morning, if we're intentional about it, we go on the porch, or in the evening, go out on the porch, and you can hear the birds, or do you just rush through that and never hear the birds sing, or
Frogs
the
croak,
frogs frogging,
crickets.
the crickets
Yeah.
cricketing, or whatever? So you don't hear, and you just miss things visually. You don't see things when you're hurrying through your day. And
Mm-hmm.
disability in our older age and so on has slowed us down some. And I think in a lot of ways that's a good thing that we appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And you were just talking about our garden today. You went outside, not because you needed to really or had to, just you went out and kind of experienced it and took pleasure that it was
Mm-hmm.
growing
Mm-hmm.
and find some satisfaction, find some, you know, I mean, in reality, it's money we spend on the garden, not really what is benefiting us, except that we'll have some nutritious vegetables soon.
Mm-hmm.
But can you appreciate it anyhow? That it's growing out of a seed and becoming something all on its own and
Mm-hmm.
doing well, and kind of appreciate the part you had in that. But it's just a lot of times gaining perspective and appreciation for everything.
Yeah.
We know people that wash their hands and smell the soap
Mm-hmm.
while they're washing their hands. It's just taking enough time to contemplate it,
Yeah.
and consider where your stuff comes from,
Mm-hmm.
to consider who made it, and kind of be thankful for the person that brought your food to you,
Mm-hmm.
and those kind of things.
Yeah. I do think that, like we were just after we went to the No Kings protest, we stopped and had a bite to eat. And yeah, I think that as we've learned through this work, we definitely see people, especially in the service industry, people that are, taking our order. And I mean, we have a genuine like concern, I guess, for them. We try to engage in conversation with them, and because it is, their job is to serve us, but that doesn't mean that there's not a way that we can serve others too, but we have to be present in order to be able to do that, right? We have to
Yes.
kind of see, or sense, what they need. Maybe it's just a smile. So, and I was having a little bit of anxiety because I felt like the people in the booth behind us were, getting very stressed out and upset because of the whole waiter, waitress sort of thing. I'm not going to go
Hmm.
into it, but it was just like, that was like kind of bringing me a little anxiety. And because, sometimes we get so focused on our own little world and what's going on in it. And those things are important, and sometimes you do have to take time to just deal with whatever's going on in your world at the moment. But I think that can still be a form of being present, right?
And
So,
speaking of the meal, like before the meal, I think I'm too present with those people. I'm talking to them and asking them their name and all that kind of stuff and cracking jokes. But then after, when they come and check on you 5 times after you get your food,
mm,
that's when I'm like present with my food and I
right.
forgot about the server.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that in some ways, that's what it is. It's a balance, right? Of as
Yeah.
I go throughout my day, how can I spend time appreciating things,
Mm-hmm.
without just appreciating myself into a non-doing
Right.
being.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's, yeah, just a lot of our senses come in, and you like to smell things,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, that's sometimes how I buy things like
mhm.
dishwashing liquid and laundry detergent, things like that.
I could probably do better because I don't naturally care about that stuff as much, and I could,
Mm. Well, I also think that there's probably no right or wrong, people, um, certain senses probably stick out more to us than others, and that may come from something. I don't know,
Mhm.
there might be a reason why the sense of smell, um, is so important to me. It does give me, like, it does relax me a lot of times to like
Mhm.
have a lavender smell or something like that.
Yeah.
So, um, next subheading was thoughts and judgments. And I'm just going to read a little bit here. It says, I cherish the moments I spend with friends who are slow to judge. This approach allows me to consider all sides of an argument and gives me time to think rationally about the point I mentioned earlier while engaging all my senses. And when I read that, I was like, oh, that reminds me of Larry Jordan. I feel like Larry Jordan is, and we've interviewed him and his wife Jill, but to me, he kind of embodies that because I feel like he's very slow to judge. I feel like you can talk to Larry about almost anything. Like you don't have to agree with him, and he's not going to like come at you. He's
Mhm.
going to be slow to, he's going to think about what you said, and he's going to be slow to respond. And he's going to, when he does respond, it seems very non-judgmental.
Mhm.
So, what else can you add to that? That was like my little takeaway on that
Yeah,
subheading.
I think being slow to judge is just for Larry. I think Larry and Jill, it's because they know what they're talking about.
Mm,
They've read hundreds of books and so on, especially Larry has.
hmm
That they know what they think, and they don't need to convince you. They're not anxious,
mm, hmm
about convincing you or whatever. And that's kind of it. Is everybody has the right to think what they want,
hmm
but some ideals are damaging and so on. But you're never going to get through to them if it causes anxiety. And I
hmm
think anxiety, a lot of that's an anxiety about the future. We don't know what the future is going to be like, but when we get nervous about the future, then, well, our person has promised us in politics that they're going to solve all our problems. Our religion has promised they're going to solve all of our problems, but it's not going the way we're supposed to. So I'm going to direct all of that anxiety
Mm.
at the person I'm judging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned in this part of the book that you continue to practice the ancient technique of centering prayer. So is that still something that you practice? And if so, because sometimes prayer can be a triggering word
Sure.
for people. So what do you mean by centering prayer?
Yeah, to me, centering prayer is not really prayer, but in the traditional sense or what we think of. And I know some people call it like the Jesus prayer or something, and they spiritualize it a lot. But yeah, I probably shouldn't even put prayer on it. But by saying centering prayer, some people will know what I'm talking about.
Even when I go to yoga class, though, our yoga instructor will be like, bring your hands to, prayer at your heart. So, yeah, I don't know that
Yeah,
there's anything. I would say that the word prayer probably has triggered me in the past, but now I can look at it as, it could be a posture,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And so prayer in and of itself is usually regulating.
Mm-hmm.
So centering prayer is basically just removing, trying to get rid of all thoughts. Just I'm not expecting anything. I'm not praying for anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not um, trying to make something happen. It's just that I'm there. So it's
Mm-hmm.
being very present.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm there. And in centering prayer, you can use a word. Like I used to use the word stillness.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would say stillness to me, then I thought about the word stillness, but everything else kind of dropped off and went
Yeah.
to the side for a while. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
go away totally. It just was gone for the second.
Right.
But but the two things you're not thinking about is the past regrets and what might happen in the future.
Mm.
And I think I say in the book that
Mm-hmm.
there's times when you need to worry about that, right?
Right.
I need to remember the past. I need to heal the past, and doing shadow work and stuff like that is certainly connecting with our former self and our parts of us that are, been screwed up for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But also then that future tripping, some
Yeah.
people call it,
Uh-huh.
of what might happen or what's going to happen, or and that can keep me from the present. So
Mm.
a lot of times people say they have monkey minds and don't, can't get focused, but a lot of it is just that. It's not future tripping. It's not regrets or things of the
Mm-hmm.
past or what might happen in the future. It's being here right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm. I think that for me, because I was a huge future tripper, and I think the thing that has helped with that is um, learning more about trauma, seeking therapy with a trauma-informed therapist, that has allowed me to be more present than I used to be. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the
Yeah.
imagination, but um, I definitely don't think that I future trip as much as I used to. I used to be really worried about the future.
And if you never think about the future, right, you're
Hmm.
gonna make some big mistakes,
Right,
right?
right.
Um,
Like you said, there's got to be a balance of all of that.
I like that word in brain chemistry that we talk about, the homeostasis. I
Hmm.
wish all of our stuff kind of come into homeostasis, just like our body wants to be in that state
Hmm.
of being balanced,
Right.
you know,
Hmm.
but our minds and our our psyche sometimes go a different place
Hmm.
because we, a lot of us to avoid danger, there's some stuff happened in the past. I don't want that to happen again. I'm not sure what's going to happen next. I'm not sure if an animal is going to come attack me or
Hmm.
whatever. So I want to worry about that at least a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
being present for a while will ground you kind of in reality.
Hmm.
I am
Hmm.
safe
Right.
and I do have a way forward.
Mm-hmm.
I have healed from some of my past, and so now I can relax and be in the present moment
Right.
and just read a book or
Mm-hmm.
um, the puzzle. I've gotten into puzzles lately, and
Mm-hmm.
the 1,000-piece puzzles
Right.
um, really focus my attention so much. I'm looking for a piece, and I'm thinking about the shape of it
Mm-hmm.
and the color of it. Uh, and all those things just kind of streamlines my focus so I'm not thinking about something else.
Right.
And I love it when I can be really present with a book.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little harder because it's only, it's one sentence,
Right.
And today I know you read this chapter by listening to it and seeing it,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is great. And it helps keep you present on those words
Right.
and brings them to life,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
So,
It does. I don't know. There's something about like I just get a lot out of it when I can kind of look at it and listen to it at the same time.
mm.
So yeah.
Your brain's so amazing that it translated that voice into mine, right? And
Yeah.
you could hear my voice
Uh-huh.
in the reading, but
Yep.
it's not even my voice.
Right.
So,
Right. So paying attention is the next thing that you talk about. So, um, what do you want to tell us about paying attention? What should we be paying attention to?
and I should say, still working on it.
Well, I would think that, that's just it, like you and I have been talking about like me possibly writing a book, but books are just a snapshot of your journey, right? Your
Mhm.
journey continues. And that's one thing that I told you. It's like, I don't want, if I write a book, I don't want it to be a how-to book. I just want to talk about this is my journey so far, and this is what I've learned, and I continue to learn, and I'm excited to continue to learn.
Mhm.
So what should we be paying attention to as we're on this journey?
Well, I think like we talked about with waiters and so on, you got to
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to people.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they say something you don't want to hear, why are they saying that? What,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on? And sometimes you can ask people if you're in the right setting, what's, what's behind that,
Mm-hmm.
or um, why do you say that?
Mm-hmm.
What's the emotion behind that? Um, Paying attention to people's actions and not what not necessarily what they're saying as much as what they're doing and what their
Mm-hmm.
face is doing, but paying attention to someone having a conversation with you,
Mm-hmm.
um, and listening to what they're really saying and things
Yeah.
like that.
I like what you said because you said, however, we also don't need to engage in what might be considered a practice to pay attention. We don't have to climb a mountain, attend a retreat, or isolate ourselves in a room to meditate. Although, if that's what you're feeling in the moment, go for it.
Yeah.
But then you said we can meditate while walking to the car to go shopping. We can be mindful while waiting in line at the grocery store. And we can listen empathetically to a friend without judgment, remaining fully present as they share their emotions, fears, and
Mm.
experiences. And in our world today, I just feel like we're we're so fast, right? We're just going, going,
Mhm.
going, going.
Mhm.
So that, it definitely, maybe it does need to be a practice at first, kind of like you were talking about with the centering
Same.
prayer
Yeah.
and, having that word. And then, you know, after a while, you can begin to do that with other people or in other situations that maybe you weren't able to do that before.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does that. I think what I'm thinking about there is every vacation we went on as a family. By the time we got there, and we're going to relax and to
Mm-hmm.
get away.
Yeah.
And by the time we get there, it's
Mm-hmm.
like everybody's nerves are frazzled
Yeah.
and we're just thinking about I don't have my stuff from home that I wanted. It's not I don't have my chair to sit in, I don't have my
Mm-hmm.
bed to sleep in.
Right.
And sometimes it doesn't really serve the purpose. And not too long ago, I just realized I have we're looking out the window right now at our garden, which we're so happy about. We have trees, even though one of them about fell on our house the other day, but we have trees out there and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And on a cool summer day, it's really nice to go outside and take it all in and listen to the birds and so on. So I kind of lost my train of thought, but just
paying
you
attention.
don't need a magic mountain.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
need it,
You don't need to go to a retreat, which is a big thing at churches and things like that is, women's retreat, men's retreat, you know. Sometimes you got to get away from even people, right? Even like-minded people, you need to get away from them and just, you like you say a lot, be comfortable with solitude.
Yeah, I think that's the last chapter in the first part of this book. It's I was just, that's exactly what I was just thinking was to do that, even on your back porch, without the stress of a vacation, even just going out on your back porch. If you're not comfortable with solitude, you can't be present. You can't take all that in.
Right.
Because you're just going to be thinking, I should be doing something.
Right.
Or what prayer should I be? We need a liturgy. That's, to me, that's the downfall of church sometimes. We got to have a liturgy. We need something to say. We need something to sing. We need somebody to tell us something. From 60 years, I think the stuff I've learned more is not the stuff that was programmed. That was, procured and practiced and that I participated in because unless I can come to that state of solitude where I'm really listening, if I need things and people and routines and practices and liturgies to get me to where the place I can go spiritually, then to me it's a little contrived and it's not as genuine and full as when I can learn to be in solitude and just be present there. The good thing is sometimes it takes 5 minutes of that to just totally give you everything you need.
Right.
But you got to be present. You got to be comfortable with solitude and those kind of things.
Yeah. I find that being out in nature, is what is best for me to be away from kind of all the noise. So, engaging with our actions, you said in this chapter, it doesn't mean escaping reality or constantly focusing on something perceived as more virtuous. So, when you're talking about engaging with our actions, what are you talking about there?
On the assembly line, once I practice, once I get into those actions, then those actions can be a way to think about something else or meditate because it keeps me busy. My body's busy. All my nervous energy's out. But then it's like Thich Nhat Hanh had a thing called mindful walking. Where I might have touched on that somewhere else.
You did.
But he talked about mindful walking, just thinking about every step and taking a slow walk. So it can even be in your actions. I could meditate, which means think about something else while I was on the assembly line. And I could take a mindful walk, and just be focused on one thing. And maybe my body, while it's walking, is using up its nervous energy to walk, and my mind can contemplate something else.
Right. Yeah. You talked a little bit about multitasking and juggling too many responsibilities. So, like, I really liked that point in this subheading of the chapter because sometimes I think that those things, multitasking, we look at that like as a badge of honor, right? Instead of just like being focused on the task at hand, and being really engaged with whatever we're doing at the time.
You can't do more than one thing at a time.
Not well.
Not well.
Right.
So it's what it amounts to is you using a few seconds here and a few seconds there, and then a few seconds back here, and then a few seconds
Mm-hmm.
over there, and you're not really focused on anything. And it
Mm-hmm.
might be better just to focus on one thing
Mm-hmm.
and get that job done, and then go to the next one.
Right.
And have the courage to tell people, "I'll be with you in a minute,"
Mm-hmm.
or "We'll take care of that tomorrow."
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just trying to do it all at once and not doing anything well.
Yeah, a lot of times, like when we're engaged in something separately, but let's say I need to talk to you about something or you need to talk to me about something, we'll say, let me know when you're done with the thing that you're doing. Because otherwise, it kind of goes back to the very beginning of this podcast. Otherwise, you're not really present or I'm not really present
Yeah.
with you.
You
So,
can't think about what happened at work and listen
mhm,
effectively. So
mhm,
let's finish this conversation and we'll talk about that, right?
mhm,
Or let me finish what I'm doing,
mhm,
then we'll talk and I can be fully present.
right.
But that takes communication and it's like real easy to get your feelings hurt.
Mhm,
By getting my thing the most important, well, yeah, it's real important, but that's why I want to finish this and get clear-minded about what you're
mhm,
saying. So,
right. So I can just focus on that.
yeah.
Then finally, you wrap up the chapter with regulating. And this is a big thing for both of us. You know, we've done a lot of trauma work, we've been to a lot of trauma informed conferences and things like that. What are you talking about when you talk about regulating?
Yeah, I think sometimes before you try to be present with something, it's a good idea to get regulated. If I'm, um, it's probably real important during an argument, a disagreement between a husband and wife, for example, to we should regulate first,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because we have been in those arguments, and I'm sure no one else has, maybe, but we have, where you're both dysregulated. So one person talks when they're dysregulated, one person shuts down when they're
Mm-hmm.
dysregulated,
Mm-hmm.
and neither one of us is thinking clearly or off our thinking brains offline, and so
Right.
we're not. So learning regulation helps a lot
Mm-hmm.
because not just does it help you get out of um, that dysregulated state, but it also helps you to be present, helps you
Right.
to clear your plate off. You know, you get back to where you're even, you feel good, you feel back to normal,
Mm-hmm.
breathing heavy, you're not, blood pressure's not up.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps with meditation, it helps with conversations, it helps with reading,
Mm-hmm.
all
Yeah.
those things. But yet we're trying to argue with people online when we're dysregulated
Right. Right.
and when we're not thinking clearly and
Mm-hmm.
end up saying things you shouldn't have said
Mm-hmm.
and things like that.
That happens not just online, that happens in everyday life, really.
Yeah,
But
for
it's a little
sure.
bit easier online because then you don't have to actually face somebody. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Just some mindful breathing for a
Mm-hmm.
while or however you regulate, whatever works best for you.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I mean, presence is just, it's really important. And the older I get, because I think like we talked about the first half of life and the second half of life, Richard Rohr and stuff like that. And I feel like in the second half of life, you realize like, I only have so much time left. I need to be here for myself, for my family, for the people I love. Um, so presence has become, it's paramount in the second half of life.
So I'd always say that I started learning about presence from the tea shop owner
Mm-hmm.
when we were in Taiwan. And in that book, The Tea Shop, we talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it talked about how you and JD were pretty much, you were like kind of cued in. You were listening to this guy. And he was also present.
Mm-hmm.
He had our interest in mind.
Right.
He got us peanuts and sunflower
Just every
seeds.
like
Like
he
he
was
thought he thought that's what we might want.
right. He was, yeah, it
But
was
he was looking us in the eye. He was excited. He was telling us a story that had to be translated and all that stuff. But in my pastor years would have been thinking about how to change the conversation so I can
Witness.
to him or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't concerned with that. I think he was telling us about his yoga practice for part of the thing. And he was just so excited about it, but he was there.
Right.
He was mentally there. He wasn't like answering his phone or looking off in the distance like he was thinking about something. He was totally with us. And so we've gone through several models of that. And I wish I had it with me right now, but there's things you do 2 people, there's things you do 4 people. There's things you do in spite of people, but the best things are the things you do with them. And to be with them,
right,
you have to be present.
Right. Exactly.
So
that's a great way to wrap that up.
And someday I'll be there, but
well, like I said, everything, it's so much of what we talk about and what we do, it's a journey, right? So, I was just talking to somebody today, like I love just being a lifelong learner. I don't think there has to be a cap on, okay, now I've got it all figured out. Because as soon as you say that, something's going to go sideways, right? So there's always something that we can be learning. And I think as you do that too, you give yourself like tons of grace because we don't get it right every time. And that's okay. Recognize when you don't get it right, give yourself some grace, and then, reframe, be present with who you are in that moment, even if you're making mistakes.
Yeah. So be who you are, authenticity,
Yep.
and today be where you are, which is presence. And then you'll be at peace, right?
Right. Thank you for joining us today on the Desert Sanctuary podcast.
Remember, all who wander in the desert are not lost.
We believe all of our stories are sacred.
We are always here if you need someone to hear your story.
Check out our blog on Pathos and also our YouTube channel.
And stay tuned for our Leaning Forward conference.
Remember, we love you.
And be at peace.